It's a running joke with our friends that Adam and I have never actually been to any of these destinations. We aren't the biggest fans of asking someone to take a picture of us, so it's just easier to stretch out an arm and snap a selfie. And because Adam seems to do a better job, we end up in a similar pose most of the time. Yes, it's assumed we simply have an old portrait studio in our home with pull-down backdrops of exotic locations. London, pull down the screen. Tokyo, we have a screen for that. Mountains, of course! I won't lie, it would make travel a lot easier and the jet lag non-existent. But I hate to break it, we've done these trips. Though in the future, maybe I will ask a stranger to snap a picture every now and again. Today we'll explore Paris, France. Paris is the capital city of France. It's a city that's been inhabited since the 3rd century BC, being conquered by the Romans in 52 BC. It's one of the most expensive cities to live in, and after visiting, it's easy to see why. The country was formerly ruled by a monarchy, which started in 508 AD. By 1328, it was the most populous city in Europe. It's hard to discuss Paris without talking about royalty, and my goodness did they have royalty. If you think the palaces in England are large, they have nothing on the French. One of the most visited sites in the city, the Louvre, was a royal palace from the 15th century. It started as a medieval fortress in 1202 along the River Seine. When visiting the museum, you can see these foundations. It was the royal family's main Paris residence. In 1793, it became a museum. There are anywhere from 300 to 400 rooms, and that tells you just how large it is when you can't decide on a number. It underwent a large renovation in the 1980s by architect I.M. Pei, adding the pyramid in the front. Remember I.M. Pei of Denver fame from our Hong Kong travel video? Yes, at the museum you can see the Mona Lisa, but I promise it will have crowds of people, and really, is it any more impressive than any other piece of art? The museum is massive, so don't imagine you can see it all in a day, or 2, or 3. The royals also had the Palace of Versailles, which was a royal residence from 1682 till the French Revolution. It started as a hunting lodge, which seems to be a common theme in many royal retreats. Louis XIV, 15th, and 16th spent lavishly expanding and renovating the lodge to a 720,000 square foot palace. There are 700 rooms and 67 staircases. Social and economic inequality leads to the start of the French Revolution. The palace was stormed in October of 1789, removing the royals. The monarchy was overthrown, King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette were beheaded. In 1799, Napoleon seizes power, and here we enter into the First Republic. In 1804, Napoleon becomes Emperor of the French, and at this point we enter into the First French Empire. Construction begins on the Arc de Triomphe in 1810 to commemorate the Revolution and Napoleonic Wars, though it was not completed until 1836. This location has the best views of the city. Would you rather have a view from the Eiffel Tower or of the Eiffel Tower? There were lots of stairs though, over 280. So be prepared to climb. In 1814, Napoleon is overthrown and the monarchy was restored. Napoleon was revered in France, so he was sent to live in exile in St. Helena by the British. Today his remains are kept at the Dôme des Invalides. We've seen the burial places of presidents and kings, but this location has to be the grandest burial site I've ever seen. I can only imagine the Taj Mahal or the Grand Pyramids to be more impressive. In 1848, there was another revolution, and again the monarchy abolished. We refer to this time period as the Second Republic. Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte I, becomes president. In an 1851 coup, he becomes Emperor Napoleon III. We refer to this time period, starting in 1852, as the Second French Empire. Napoleon III is also forced out after war with the Prussians. This leads to the unification of the German states and the creation of the German Empire, more of which is covered in our Berlin travel video. Around this time period, you'll find some of the city's most beautiful architecture, such as the Paris Opera House. Constructed from 1861 to 1875, this is the setting for the Phantom of the Opera. And with its mystery, I can imagine a masked figure lurking in the structure. In 1870, we reached the Third French Republic. During this time, the Eiffel Tower is constructed. Built 1887 till 1889 and named for engineer Gustave Eiffel. Gustav Eiffel also played a part in one of the United States' most treasured monuments, designing the skeleton for the Statue of Liberty. The tower was constructed for the 1889 World's Fair. At 1,063 feet, it's as tall as an 81-story building. At the time, it was the tallest structure in the world until 1930 with the completion of the Chrysler Building in New York. Like most World's Fair construction, it was originally intended to be temporary and eventually supposed to be demolished in 1909. Luckily for us, it became an iconic symbol that they decided to preserve. Since its construction, it has been repainted 19 times. It's the most visited paid monument in the world, but no, we didn't go in it. It's an amazingly iconic structure, and seeing it in person should be high on anyone's bucket list. The Third French Republic lasted until 1940 with German occupation. At this point, we have the Vichy government, which existed in exile until 1944. With the end of the war, a provincial government of the French Republic was in power from 1944 till 1947, after which we enter the French Fourth Republic from 1946 till 1948, though fear of a military coup led to the dissolving of the government. Finally, we reach the French Fifth Republic, which is the current government. What I find fascinating is that the country has had about 20 constitutions, and that the current one has 24 amendments. For reference, the US has had 2 constitutions, one the Articles of Confederation, and the second, our current, since 1787, which currently has 27 amendments. Catholicism plays a large role in the city. Notre Dame de Paris, or Our Lady of Paris, was designed in French Gothic architecture. It's famed for flying buttresses. Construction on the cathedral started in 1160 and was completed in 1260. The cathedral went into major disrepair, and by the end of the Napoleonic Wars, the early 1800s, it was considered for demolition. Victor Hugo's book, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, led to a major restoration between 1844 and 1864, and with it, the roof spire was added. A large fire destroyed the roof this past year, and there is a lot of argument around design. Should they rebuild something that was itself in addition to the original design, or should they add something modern? Other churches in the city are a marvel to see, and in all honesty, they were the best part of the trip. One of the more unique locations to visit are the catacombs. Much of the city was built with stone quarried from underneath Paris. There are large networks of mined caves that go throughout the city. In the late 1700s, the cemeteries in the city had become overcrowded and they needed a solution for human remains. The solution was to use these abandoned quarries. Bones were stacked in the new catacombs. It's estimated that the remains of over 6 million Parisians are kept there. It was a humbling experience for me. These were people who loved, laughed, had dreams, ambitions. They existed. It was a reminder that whether we want to accept it or not, time is slipping away from all of us. So seize the day, and maybe follow the words of Edith Piaf. No je ne regretterions, no regrets. In the Montmartre neighborhood, you'll find Sacré-Cœur, a basilica and the highest point in the city. You'll also pass by Café des Deux Moulins, seen in the movie Amélie. If you want to visit Paris from your living room, this really is the best French film to embody the city. I know it's a common theme to say that the French are rude, but I have to say that we had more friendly interactions with Parisians than that with locals in other parts of the world. Paris is a magical city, there is no doubt about that. The smell of fresh baked bread wafts through the city, and it's easy to find yourself transported to the fantasy that is the City of Lights. There really is nothing quite like it. What makes travel so special? It's the moments. It's the memories. It's the opportunities to share experiences with the people you love. To share with family, with friends, with you. What an amazing world we live in, and whether you can take a trip across the globe or across the city, make sure to enjoy the moments while you have them. I hope that you have enjoyed these travel experiences. I know I've loved the opportunity to reminisce and share them with you. And for now, I'll say thanks for joining us, and we hope to travel again soon.